What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening. I wanted to put this in the top of the show. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/Brennan Tassif. Check out the merch store at brennantcomedy.com to get your ex-drinking buddy merch. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. As always, we're coming to you live from Gotham Production Studios, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Grab me a beer and grab me a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It's my favorite thing to do. Hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but that is still one of my favorite things to do, reminisce about the good old days. Most weeks I'll be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, Joe Gorman.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Thank you for having me, man.
What's up, dude?
Not much, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm glad you're here, man.
I'm glad to be here.
Plug everything up front before we get too far into it. You have your podcast, your social media. Let everybody know where they can find you.
All right. As always, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and most importantly, Threads.
Okay.
We're on Threads. We're on the right side of history.
Yeah.
And you can follow me at Joe W. Gorman. That's all you need to do.
Joe W. Gorman?
Yeah, you type that in, you're going to find a good guy, all right? If you type in Joe Gorman, you'll find a priest who's building houses in Africa.
Ugh.
Yikes, dude. Come on, give me my handle, Joe Gorman. So I'm Joe W. Gorman. And I have a podcast. I do a podcast with my buddies Matt Marin and Bobby Sheehan.
Matt Marin, friend of the show.
Oh, good friend of mine, dude. Hell yeah, dude. So I do a podcast with those guys, Locker Room Talk. You can support us on patreon.com/justsomелockerroomtalk.
Okay.
What a timeless bit that is, huh?
I love how you talk about how you're like, if you want to find a good guy, look up Joe W. Gorman. Then you're like, by the way, my podcast insinuates, the title insinuates we talk about inexplicable things.
Absolutely. That it just keeps us safe.
What is the podcast about?
Just three guys chilling.
Okay.
We record in my apartment.
That's awesome.
So that's what we do. We're just on the couch kicking it. My dog and cat show up. They're in many ways fourth and fifth mic.
I was gonna say they're a part of the show.
The audience gets mad if they're not there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
They've built a little fan base.
That's awesome.
They have. It's a very cat dog dynamic where they fight with each other for my attention.
Do they really?
Oh yeah.
It's primal.
That's how pets can be sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You have one. Well, we had the dog first, Finny. And then our cat Babastus joined in. Babastus, dude. So now he took away some of the love for Finny, because as you know, love is finite, baby.
Oh, it is energy.
There's only so much to go around.
Or destroyed.
Yeah.
There's only enough.
There's only so much.
Dude.
That's why I like those, families that have multiple kids. One of those kids is getting loved.
And one is not.
Diminishing returns on kids for sure.
Yeah.
I can say this as someone that does not have children. Diminishing returns on kids.
I can say this as someone who is one of four.
Yeah. Which one were you? Oldest or youngest?
Youngest.
Or middle? Oh, the young.
Well,
you got away with shit though.
I'm a twin.
Oh.
Yes.
Younger or older of the twins?
Older.
Oh, nice.
And my twin sister gets so mad because I call her my baby sister. She's like, we're 30 minutes apart. I'm like, that's a millennia in twin numbers.
Yeah. That's the way it's like yeah, it's exactly like that, where each minute you're older is even more power to you.
And I'm 6'1" and she's like 4'11".
Oh, there you go, dude. Yeah. Kick her ass anytime.
Crush her like a worm, as they say in Braveheart. I wanted to have you on because we ran into each other a couple days ago, and I was like, fucking Joe has not been on. You were a part of one of the most traumatic experiences I've ever had in comedy, and I talked about it at the mic, but the roast, and the listeners know, because when it happened, I genuinely was questioning everything about my comedy career, my life, all of it. And then when I saw you, I was like, oh, fuck, I got to get Joe on the podcast. So I wanted to have you on. Tell the listeners, like, kind of, because you're not from New York, are you?
No, I'm not.
So, yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah.
How you got to New York, how you got into comedy, that whole thing.
I got into comedy at a young age because I was one of those kids that like kind of like discovered theater around middle school.
Yeah.
You know, where you kind of are like, what am I doing? So I grew up.
How did you discover theater?
Yeah, so I grew up in Leavenworth, Kansas originally. Like my dad was in the Army, so he worked in Fort Leavenworth, and we lived in the adjacent city, Leavenworth. It's really more of a town. Like very, very
less city, more town.
Dude, you know when Jason Aldean was talking about try that in a small town?
Yeah.
He was talking about Leavenworth, Kansas, baby.
Okay.
Yeah. Where we take care of our own.
I honestly had no idea what was going on with that. I just saw the memes and the gifs and everything. And then somebody talked about it. It might have been you. Somebody talked about it at a mic, and I was like, oh, that's what's going on.
Yeah. It was me, baby. You know I'm breaking news.
Yeah.
You know how I start my set?
I feel like Ari. I get my news from like shows.
Well, I begin every set with extra, extra, read all about it. To, you know, kind of tantalize the audience into paying attention a little differently.
Yeah.
But no, I grew up in a small town, and it sucks. Because like everyone that grew up in a small town, they either stayed in a small town and need to delude themselves into thinking it's a good choice to stay in a small town, or they moved to New York or another major city.
Chicago, LA,
Chicago,
Atlanta.
exactly.
It's interesting you say that because I went to high school in a small town called Port Orange outside of Daytona, and this is the reason I love Facebook, is because so many people that I grew up with like just stayed, which is good for them. They have families now and they got their lives going on and stuff. But it's like I look out my window and I'm like, oh, that's one of the greatest cities humankind has ever known. And they're like still going to Buffalo Wild Wings on Thursdays. And
yeah.
I'm like, no shade at all. I would love to have that life, but I'm just like,
It's always like a grass greener on the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
I'm like, oh, their mortgage is probably like $700, and they have this beautiful home, and I'm paying like triple that for a bedroom and a 3-bedroom apartment with random roommates. So who really won, you know?
But you get to be the greatest comedian in New York City.
Yeah.
On top of that. And they won't know that rush, baby. All right, what are they going to know? The love of a child?
Come
on.
What is that?
Waking up next to like their fucking life partner?
Try making a room full of strangers laugh at your misery.
Come on, man.
Try that.
Yeah, you don't know the rush of having a joke land during the check drop.
You don't.
They
you
won't.
don't know it.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Leavenworth, Kansas.
Yeah.
What sparked the theater thing? Because there are A's and there are B's. There's people who are like, you go for the attention, and then there's people who shy away from it. What sparked it?
So when we moved to California after Kansas.
Okay.
And that was in 8th grade, like right at that turning point.
Yeah.
You know.
But you said you got into theater in middle school.
Yeah. So that's like around when do you consider that's middle
6th,
school?
7th, 8th.
Yeah. So it was like the tail end of.
Okay. So you're in California when you get into theater.
That's when I started really.
I thought you got into it in Kansas. I was going to be like,
no, I did like
I didn't
Christmas.
think that was allowed.
I did like Christmas pageants, which
Okay.
didn't count. You know.
Yeah.
Where they were like, Christ is definitively the Son of God.
Absolutely.
And-
but if you dress up like this any other time, you're one of those gays.
Yeah.
One of those kind of things.
Yeah, they don't like long-haired hippies, but what was Jesus but the ultimate long-haired hippie?
Hey, who are you telling?
I mean, we don't
When
know.
you go back home, do people give you guff about your long hair?
No, they
Your
think
dad
it's
was in the
cool.
military?
Even my elderly grandfather thinks it's cool.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone like it's just so healthy.
If you got it, flaunt it, baby.
Yeah,
Every
man.
time I see someone with long hair, like you know, when you run into someone on the subway and I just stare at it. I'm like, I just think I don't have the attention span. And my hair's real thin, so it's like, as soon as it gets to a certain point, I'm like, I have to cut it.
For me, it was just laziness. Like I would never just cut my hair, and I was like, I don't need to fucking cut my. What am I gonna cut? I gotta cut my. It's just gonna grow long again.
Yeah.
So I would just always like for like the first like couple months, I would just wear a hat to kind of naturally just have it back.
Yeah.
And I took off the hat, and it flowed like Fabio locks.
And you were like, this is it.
And I was like,
this is my look.
This is my definitive feature.
So you moved to California, and then how did you even get involved in theater?
It was one of those electives during 8th grade where you
Okay.
could like fill your class. So we did the importance of being earnest.
Okay.
And it was all right, man. It was fun being on stage. Like I liked being on stage, and then at that age you're kind of trying to decide who you really are, what you're all about. So I was taking like some theater classes, and there was like community theater I was doing in California.
Oh, so you were like
too.
in it
a little bit.
You're kind of like soft rolling it, but that's like to do community theater and to take classes. Like that's kind of a lot.
I thought I was gonna like really get into acting, but I just like doing funny stuff. I like doing improv.
Mm-hmm.
I like doing sketch stuff.
Okay.
But I didn't.
Did you get involved? So you're doing community theater. You take the class as an elective, and then you kind of like get the ball rolling on that. So this is in 8th grade. So at what time did you start doing sketch and improv and all that? That had to have been after because
that was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
Did you join an improv troupe at high school, or did you get involved with? Did the community theater have stuff? Like, how did you find
the community theater had like Friday acting programs?
The reason why I get so invested in these details is because it's like the most minute details where it's like, oh, your whole life could have changed.
Yeah. When did I fall into this downward spiral of addiction? When did it happen? It was the rush of the applause.
For me, it was the summer of 2010.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a good ass year, man.
I thought you meant for the addiction part. Yeah. I was drinking every day. And
that's even fun. That could be fun too sometimes.
It's a lot of times. It can be so fun that you don't want to stop, and then all of a sudden you can't stop.
I know.
So that got dark. So you find the improv troupe.
Yes.
So now you're in high school, and then what happens? When do you decide like this is what I want to do?
It was like helping me break out of my shell. I did the High School Musical.
Okay.
And I was like cast as like one of the comedic leads.
Oh wow.
And I loved that. I loved like getting laughs. I had like a solo, but it wasn't a serious song.
Yeah.
So that was kind of freeing too, because there's some kind of vulnerability that I still don't like on stage.
Oh yeah.
I don't like that shit. Someone fucking sheds a tear, get out of town.
Yeah.
Save it for a podcast, Slick. I came here
what they're for.
Yeah. Get out of your system, dude.
That's the one thing I do love and hate about Mike's is because at Mike's, and you know this because you've been in the game for a long time too. Yeah. It's so fun to have people on who have only been doing comedy for like 2 years or a year and a half, because they're always just like, yeah, it's so much fun. I'm like, just wait.
Wait. It's like, it's one of those things where it becomes less fun the more you do it, but like the more you do it, the more you have to do it.
Well, yeah, the more you become like addicted to it. And it's interesting because to your point about vulnerability, a lot of the stuff I talk about on stage are because I'm a storyteller, and a lot of it's dark storytelling because it's like shitty situations, but I try to make them funny. Mm-hmm. And when those don't, like when you bare your soul and you're like, huh?
Yeah.
Huh? And that doesn't land, you're like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna die. What are we supposed to do from here? So you got to do a silly song. So it wasn't you weren't like, oh, the people are going to make fun of me.
You still got that wall.
Yeah.
And you're not being yourself, which is like another thing.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
That's like the big thing that helped kind of break you out of that. Mm-hmm. But I didn't like doing serious stuff. I didn't like doing like drama and stuff. I didn't want to play like the straight guy. I didn't want to have to,
he doesn't play the straight guy, if you know what I mean.
You better fucking believe it, baby. It was always like meant to be goofy.
Yeah.
It was always meant to be goofy. So that was like always my thing I didn't like with theater. And then
so how did you pivot away from doing like you obviously tried the serious roles and that's when you decided you didn't like to do them.
And I couldn't like tap into that.
Yeah.
I couldn't tap into whatever it is where that you can like disappear into that and become this person and work through his pain, like in that show Barry. You watch Barry and you're like, oh, this is like a fucking love letter to acting. I don't know any of this shit.
That's like in Tropic Thunder. You've seen Tropic Thunder. When Robert Downey Jr. is like, I'm like a plumber and electrician, except my tools are the tools that trigger human emotion, and it's like fuck off. But a lot of actors do feel that way.
Oh, absolutely.
Daniel Day-Lewis, man. That's the fucking method on method, man. So when did you, after you decided you weren't really down for the drama roles, did you just pivot into full comedy?
Yeah, but it was always like I did one of my first open mics freshman year of college.
So in high school. So 8th grade, you start doing theater. Then in high school, you're doing theater and then kind of transition into improv and sketch and stuff like that. So do you stay doing improv and sketch all through high school?
A little bit. But, it's like how you're doing like a million things in high school where it's really just being like funny.
Did you play any sports or anything like that?
No, I was never like a fucking athlete. You know what? I did not like doing stuff after school.
Yeah.
And theater was like the one exception where it's like, okay, I kind of like this.
Okay.
I'm getting something out of this. But
so it was definitely like a calling that you had.
Yeah. Otherwise, I just wanted to go home and play GoldenEye, baby.
That's what I was going to say. Just go home and play. I'm thinking about Diablo 4 right now as we're talking.
I am like thinking about my fucking loadout on everything, man. That's the best thing about being an adult is like, oh yeah, I'll buy this fucking video game.
I went through a phase like in the last 3 months where I was buying games because Hogwarts came out and then the new Star Wars came out and then Diablo 4 came out and I wanted all 3 of those games.
Yeah.
So I was like halfway through Hogwarts and then Star Wars came out. So I was like, well, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So I was like, I'm buying that.
And it looks so good.
It was so much fun. And then I got like halfway through that and then Diablo 4 came out and everyone was telling me how awesome. And I was like, Well, yeah, I'm 35. I'm gonna buy that too.
Well, and it's also like now you have something to look forward because like is there no bigger bummer than you beat a video game and then like, oh well, now what am I gonna do?
It's so awesome because then the second I get tired of Diablo 4, I can go back and finish the Star Wars and then go back and finish. It's nice to have them all.
Are you Xbox, PC,
Xbox.
PlayStation? Oh hell yeah!
What are you?
I'm PlayStation, baby.
Okay,
I got
the 5.
I got the 5.
Fuck yeah, he's got the 5.
I got the 5. That was I was on the wait list for like a year and a half to get the 5. It was crazy.
We were saving up to, I remember the Christmas before we moved, my ex got me the Xbox One S, or not the new one, but like the best one that they had available.
Yeah.
And then literally within like 6 months, they came out with the Series X. And I was like, fuck, she just got me this super nice one. And then they came out with the new one. So I waited because I thought, it's fucking, I just got a new system. There's no reason to buy it. So I waited, and then happenstance, I waited long enough to where they were just on the shelves at Best Buy. So last year I went in and I was like, give me that Series X, baby. Let's go.
Xbox was good about keeping their stocks more or less full.
Yeah, I mean, when it first came out, like everything, it was sold
there was
out
like
for
that
6
chip
months,
shortage.
Yeah.
And everyone was going nuts.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah, right?
God.
That was why. But I'm getting Spider-Man. That's what I'm saving up.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy that.
That's a PlayStation only, too.
Oh, you better believe it, man.
I'm getting the new Bethesda game, the new
Starfield.
Yeah.
That one looks good.
It's like Skyrim in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
And Skyrim is one of my favorite video games of all time. I actually have material on Skyrim.
Nice.
That never works because no one knows what the fuck I'm talking about.
They're fucking kids, dude.
Yeah.
They don't understand. That's a 10-year-old game. And I just bought...
That game is 15 years old.
Oh, shit. Yeah, 2016,
Yeah.
right? Damn.
No. 2008 or 9 it came out.
Jesus Christ.
We're
Oh, yeah, and
getting
then like the
old.
special editions kept coming out.
The original came out in like 7 or 8.
That's fucking so wild. It's so funny to think. And, like I just bought it on Switch.
Dude,
So I was like, I can play it anywhere now.
Yeah.
You know?
We got so sidetracked. So you get into theater, then you get into improv. Then when you're in high school, you're doing improv intermittently, as it were.
Yeah.
You like the intermittent stuff.
All about it, baby.
And then you get to college. Where'd you go to college?
I went to San Francisco State University in California.
What's the mascot?
The Gator.
I'm normally really good about that, but I didn't know that one. The
No.
Gator?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't really have like a lot of sports teams. Like we don't have like a football team or anything. It was really the definition of commuter college.
Okay.
Like a lot of 40-year-olds.
San Francisco State University.
Yeah.
So
State.
it's a full-on university.
I did not take the SAT 2s. Dude, I took the SAT ones and I was like, this was fucking awful. I had to do the SATs twice.
Yeah.
And they average your scores.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I had like a higher math score one time and I had a higher English score.
So you're just like, that's it. We're taking that.
And I'm like, this is good enough.
Yeah.
This is like, take these.
This will get me into SFS State or university.
SFSU, baby.
Yeah.
And like, it was like, all right, SF State is good because I'm in San Francisco.
Yeah. Is that where you guys moved?
Yeah. We lived in Montera, California, which
Bay
is like,
Area?
it's Bay Area. It's like 30 miles south of San Francisco.
Was your dad still in the military?
So my parents were divorced and my mom remarried.
Okay.
And my stepdad got a job in California.
Oh, so you moved in with
yeah.
them.
So that's why we moved.
Okay.
So now my dad lives in Tennessee.
He's
So
the only 10 I see.
Yeah, that's right, baby. So yeah, we got out of there, and San Francisco was great. So I was studying theater.
So you went to school for theater?
I went to school for theater.
See, you fucking soft rolled it, man. You were like, yeah, I got into theater and I kind of like. You went to college for it.
Yeah, well, I went there. I didn't graduate with a theater degree though.
Man.
I switched to English lit
Oh,
because
did you?
it was. I didn't like the classes. I was like,
The
if I'm
theater
gonna,
classes?
I was like, if I'm gonna do theater, I need to have like experience to fall back on.
Yeah.
Because I felt like if I had that, I could tap into it. But I really just didn't like that vulnerability. I didn't
Yeah,
like...
because when you major in theater, it's not like, oh, we're gonna do just comedies. Like you
Yeah.
have to do all of it.
Yeah, so like when I was doing like I was on the improv team, like, and that was like separate from
For
theater.
college?
Yeah,
Like the college improv
So
team?
like you don't need to be a theater arts major to do the improv
Yeah.
team. So fuck it,
That's
in
why we
that.
see so many people in comedy.
Yeah.
It's the easiest barrier of entry to entertainment.
Right.
You don't have to have anything. You don't have to have an agent, a manager. You don't have to go on an audition. You just show up to a fucking open mic, and then you could tell everyone you're a comic.
Yeah. So then I started just going to open mics.
Yeah.
Around
So when was the first open mic? You said in college?
Yeah,
freshman
it was
year?
like freshman year, and then
How did you find stand up?
It was like just a local coffee shop by the college.
I just mean the greater question of how did you find stand-up? Because it's such a niche thing.
One of my friends suggested I do it.
Okay.
And like they were like, "You're funny. Why don't you just do this?"
Were you a fan of like listening to stand-up on like Spotify or Pandora?
Dude, this was before. This was in like 2000 and fucking 5.
Okay.
You know,
so yeah,
so
you and I are
yeah.
closer to the same age. Some of these young kids I have, and they're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I listen to, I watch sets on YouTube." And
I
was
know
like,
Dan Cook.
That wasn't even a fucking thing. Dan Cook was my generation. Dan Cook is the reason I got into stand-up. I tell everybody all the time, I got introduced to stand-up when I was 12, and I loved it.
Nice.
But it was like Tom Rhodes and Mitch Hedberg, and I was like, "Oh, that's like it's hilarious," and I loved it. But I was like, I can't do that. And then when Dane rips his shirt off on that Comedy Central Presents, I go, "Oh, I want to do that.
I can do that. That's like a rock star.
That was the whole bit. He has
Yeah.
a fucking rock star setup behind him. It's a drum kit and everything. So when you like, were you a fan of stand up at all before you went to do it?
I was a fan of Tom Green.
Okay.
That's who I was like into.
This is the Tom Green show.
It's not the Green Tom show. But just like seeing that he was like just doing like this in your face, wild, bizarre
so
shit.
weird, yeah.
But it was so fucking funny. And
That
I
was
like,
back when it was on MTV.
yeah, and I was like, this guy just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And that was so endearing to me, you know, and just like that level of like harassing people, but still being charming enough that you don't really get your ass kicked. It was such like an interesting balance.
Remember
you know?
when they gave him a bunch of money to let him make that movie?
Yeah, Freddie got
And then
fingered.
it fucking flopped.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers the same thing from that movie, though. Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, but he was the first one to, I think, right, to do that, like that in your face kind of like. Because a lot of people do that now. I mean, we see it constantly on TikTok and social media where it's man on the street. It's like asking people, like
everyone's
throwing
doing, everyone's
He
doing.
was
the
one of the
man.
first people to be like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna fuck with people."
Right.
And
just
they
like
were like, "Hell yeah,
yeah." Just like, oh, let me talk, because it was so uncommon at that time in the early 90s.
Yeah.
For somebody to have like a microphone and camera and
And
stuff.
the camera was the big thing. I mean, I joke about it. I should probably bring the story back, but I remember when I was in high school. Even a little younger than that, I had an older brother, and some of his friends would tell stories about how they would go, because I grew up in Daytona, and they would go to the beach bars during spring break and just put like a fake earpiece in their ear and then just wear shirts that said like security or staff or something. And then they would just act like they were doing like Girls Gone Wild. And so they'd go up to girls and be like, "Hey, we work for Girls Gone Wild." Yeah. They're going to bring the cameras around, and girls would just show their boobs and stuff. But it was just one of those things where it was like back in the like late 90s, early 2000s, like seeing anybody associated with like a camera or a microphone or show business.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "Fuck yeah. Like what's happening?"
I'm going to be a star.
Yeah.
You know?
So
and now everyone's a star.
Everyone has a voice, and not everyone should.
Yeah.
So you see that on Tom Green and stuff, and so that was kind of your forte into like comedy, as far as stand up, and that kind of stuff.
And like you can't really do like Tom Green style
not
shit,
on stage.
you know. So, but it made you, oh, okay, like I enjoy comedy.
Yeah.
I enjoy like getting a reaction and making people laugh.
Because it is a weird thing. I mean, how often after shows are people like, "Oh my God, like I've never seen live comedy." And for us, it's so second nature because we do it all the time.
All the time.
But it's like, how have you never been to a comedy show?
Do you remember your first comedy show?
I remember my first open mic, my first comedy show, the first set that I got to do where I was actually on the lineup. I remember all that.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, the first comedy show I ever saw live was in Daytona, and it was because I was too scared to do the open mics. So I went to watch not Daytona. It was in Fort Lauderdale because I was too scared to do the open mics, and I went to an actual comedy show. And then in 2009, I did my first open mic. Cisco Dern, huge shout out, big South Florida comic. He's still doing it. He hosted the open mic, and I got fucking blasted. I was 21, and I got hammered. And I went up, and I said the most horrific shit because I was trying to be like a shock jock. Like I was trying to like lean into like this frat boy kind of thing, and it was horrific. And I got off, and he goes, "Just keep doing it, man."
Nice.
And I kept doing it.
Words of wisdom. That's all you can tell somebody in comedy, because like there's no other definite answer, because like it's never like do this and this and this.
Well, the problem is it's so subjective.
Right.
Like I do this all the time, but I'll be at a mic and I'll be like, I don't understand that. Like this, I just told this bit at a mic like a week ago and it crushed. And these are all different people.
Yeah.
And it's fucking got nothing. Or like at a show, like I'll be like, that's the problem. And I've talked about this with a lot of guests where you'll do a bit at a mic and it hits. If it hits too hard, you have to realize in your head, you're like, oh, regular people aren't going to find that funny.
Yeah.
Because we're all twisted, broken toys. And then you do it at a show and people are like, oh my God. And you're like, God damn it.
Yeah, there's no balance.
Yeah, it's totally fucked. So when you did your first mic, you went because a friend suggested it. How did it go?
It was fun. And
Was it on campus or off campus?
It was off campus.
So there were actual like people there?
Yeah, it was like just normal people. It was at the Canvas Gallery on 9th and Lincoln in San Francisco. Now, last time I was in San Francisco, it was that became a fish restaurant.
Oh, really?
So I'm sure it's not around anymore. But that was like one of the ones like all the regulars used to go to.
And this is 2005?
This is like in 2005, and like, you know, people like Moshe Kasher and Sheng Wang and Ali Wong, like they would always go to that place.
Oh, because
like,
they
was
were
like one of the venues. Yeah. Like they would like practice like.
So what Joe is saying is he's basically Ali Wong.
I learned from I read from the Book of the Titans. I'm on the shoulders of giants.
So, were you hooked immediately?
Yeah, it was like a fun thing, and I enjoyed doing it.
Now, question with your background.
Yeah.
When you get on stage and it's just you and the microphone, and there is a bit of vulnerability to it, but there's no improv, there's no like nobody shouting out suggestions, there's no team, there's no troupe. Yeah. Were you like, fuck yeah? Like, I like the solo
I was like,
this
is much easier.
Okay.
You know, it's also like less pressure because it's, for me, it's like, all right, I'm either going to do well or I'm not.
Yeah.
Whereas with improv, like there were so many other factors. Like where am I, you know, where are the people I'm working with in the scene? Where are they going with that? Or will they be able to take this?
There's a lot more plate spinning.
Yeah. There's a lot more going on, but it makes you a better comic if you still do it.
That's true.
You know, it definitely like has its benefits. But with stand-up, it's just like so much more free. And you get that instant gratification of audience reaction.
Yep.
It's not like
or the instant
play.
Heartbreak.
Yeah. But at least like it's like in that moment you can like, all right.
You can judge
fast turnaround time.
Yep.
So let's go to this other mic and try it a little bit different and see if we get a different reaction.
Or if you're at a show, especially if you've been doing it, you know, long enough, you can have the ripcord jokes, like the little bits to just pull you out of stuff.
You always got
which we
like,
all have, yeah.
You always got one to, you know.
Yeah, just in case. Especially because I'm a little darker, and I know sometimes you guys can get a little crazy.
No, you get dark. It's a dark day, dude.
So I do have those in the back of my head where it's like, you know, break glass in case of emergency. Because you do a heroin overdose bit into a suicide bit into like a rehab bit. It can bring the room down real fast if they're not on board with the first one.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the third one, and I tell stories, so it's like 6 minutes, and you're like, oh boy.
Yeah, dark.
So thanks for coming to my TED Talk, everyone.
Yeah.
That's a good go-to.
Always
just throw out the TED Talk, and everyone's like, ha ha, get it? Because it's serious. So then do you start doing shows, doing mics all the time? Like you're still in college? Are you doing it like occasionally, or what happens?
The mic is like kind of like occasional because I'm still figuring shit out.
Yeah.
You know, it's college. You want to have fun in college.
Absolutely.
You want to drink and party, and you still have to like keep your grades up just enough to like get your degree.
Yeah, just enough to get by.
Because it's like I knew I wasn't going to go to grad school or anything.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, just get the fucking diploma.
So what I wanted to ask you that, because some of the stories you sent me actually have to do with comedy, so we'll circle back to those. But when did you start drinking?
I started drinking after freshman year of college.
College. See, you were a late bloomer. Like
I was a late bloomer. I was in the dorms, and it was after finals.
Oh my God! So it was the end of.
I made it all.
You were a
the
sophomore in college.
I was pretty much a sophomore. Like we finished the finals, and we were like, and I remember my friends were like, "Joe, it's all good. There's no stress." And they said, "Look, this is Captain Morgan spiced rum. Just smell it." And I smelled it. I was like, "Ooh, give me a shot!" Like,
oh really?
Yeah.
That was the first time you drank?
Yeah.
You went, "Ooh, give me a shot."
Yeah, give me a shot. It's like a little cinnamony taste, and they're like, "Isn't it good?" And of course, it's like not good, but like you're a kid. And
yeah,
like,
you have no idea.
And
I have so many questions. I have so many follow-ups.
Sure.
This is why we do the show. So when you're in high school, like middle school into high school, and you're doing theater and improv, because I've had people on who are theater kids, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they do a ton of drugs and they're drinking all the time and stuff." Yeah. But obviously, different environments, different kinds of things. Yeah,
we had like, I guess like maybe it was like maybe it's because I grew up in a small town, but they were straight edge theater kids. Like that's where I learned about straight edge, because you know I remember I was like at a party, and one of the girls from the theater troupe came up and she was like, "Are you drinking beer?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Are you smoking cigarettes?" I'm like, "No." But like really, like nobody offered me a beer. No one gave me a cigarette. You know.
That's the best. You come out looking like a hero, and you're like, "Well, it's just."
And she's like, "Oh, are you?"
Nobody thought I was cool enough for it, but okay.
She's like, "Are you straight edge?" And I'm like, "Oh, what's that?" She's like, "That means you don't do drugs and you don't drink." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I'm straight edge." And I'm like,
"Fuck,
that sounds fucking dumb." Like I remember thinking, like, I don't like that. Like, can't I just be like, just like not drinking, not like, why do I have to like?
I remember.
Why do we have to put a label on it, babe?
We don't even need to label it, man. I remember thinking it was like a cool thing to be straight edge, but I came from a family where people were drinking and having a good time and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna be different. It's so weird how, like, in a lot of circles and like normal circles, drinking and like smoking and stuff would be the rebellious nature, but in the environment I grew up in, like not doing anything was like me being like rebellious.
I feel like it's like it the inverse is every generation.
Yeah, it flip flops. Yeah,
so like our parents, it was like, have a beer with dinner or whatever, but I better not see you smoking any weed in the house.
Yeah.
And now, like, with us, it's like this whole generation, like, everyone's vaping weed and
it's
cannabis.
crazy.
It's all over. Dude, like, every other place and every other shop in New York is a dispensary now.
Yeah, there's only one legitimate one.
Yeah,
you know about
apparently.
this in
Yeah.
Union Square. Yeah.
Everything else is
I walk by going to work every day, and because I've been sober for so long, I didn't even notice what it was until somebody told me. And I was like, oh, I was wondering why that line's always out there.
Yeah.
Because it's literally called the travel agency. And I was like, don't these people have smartphones? Like, who the fuck goes to a travel agency?
Isn't that weird? Like, you don't think of all like those professions that are just extinct now because of Google.
And now because the name of the dispensary is travel agency, I was like, why is there a line outside of this place? And then,
where's everyone go? Is there some kind of mass exodus that we don't know about?
and then someone was like, that's the only legal dispensary in this city. And I was
But what kind of nerd wants to get legal weed?
I know.
Live a little, baby.
The PCP lay stuff, man. Let's party.
Come on, stick a little fentanyl in it for good luck.
For good luck. Hey, see you on the other side. So you're straight edge.
Straight edge, baby.
And did you do it because of the girl, or were you just like, I don't do this anyway? Why didn't you?
I just thought like I listened to the Dare program.
Okay.
I'll tell you that much. I really did think it was going to ruin my fucking life.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a comment. The last guest we just had on, Zach DiDonato, was talking about how it just scared him.
What a nerd. What a pussy. Well, I didn't say it. It didn't scare me. But clearly I overcame my fear.
That idea that it could ruin your life. And I've had other people on who've talked about it. I'm trying to remember. Like 3 guests in a row were like, I just didn't try it because it was fucking terrible.
The Dare program was all about instilling fear.
Yeah, it was fear
they didn't explain. They were like, people smoke cigarettes because it looks cool.
And it does.
It does look very cool, but also like they don't tell you about.
I smoke in front of my baby nieces. My twin sister gets so mad. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? I go, they need to know it's cool, Hannah.
Absolutely. They got to learn. They're going to learn sooner or later. It better
in the wintertime when I wear my leather jacket and my fucking sunglasses.
Oh, hold
and
me
I pull
down.
out a cigarette.
Hold me down.
James Dean calling. So you don't do any of that stuff. Dare scares you.
It was just
scared
like
you straight, or
it was
like
it was just like, God, I fucking like what if I get like cancer? And like I had like an aunt that had like cancer, and I thought like smoking weed would give me like fucking lung cancer and shit.
I mean, it's you know, is inhaling anything into your lungs good for you?
I don't know, dude. Reddit tells me it's fine.
Well,
that's
yeah,
all
right. Reddit and Joe Rogan.
You can compartmentalize it. You know?
Yeah. So then when. So you go through all of high school. You don't try beer, booze, nothing.
No, none of that. I was like, I had theater.
Yeah.
And then like
you had real shit going on.
And I knew freshman year.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So you get to college.
I knew I didn't want to do theater anymore.
Yeah,
I knew I didn't want to do theater
because of the drama.
And like I was just like, I'm done with this shit.
When did you transfer into English Lit?
Sophomore year.
Okay.
Sophomore year.
So you end up taking your finals and everything freshman year. And you had mentioned earlier that the mics were somewhat sporadic because of like you wanted to drink and party and stuff. But your freshman year, you're not doing any of that stuff. So were you just focused, even though you were going to transfer out of theater, were you still focused on completing what you had started as far as the classes and everything?
Not really. I dipped out on like a lot of class. I also got like an F in one of the classes.
So you're just playing Goldeneye all the time.
You know, I always thought like there were like some like where it's like you don't even need to show up to class. I'm like, oh fuck yeah. So so I didn't show up to class and I failed. I'm like, oh, these fucking liars. You know?
I had a couple professors who were like, you're paying for the class. So if you want to show up, show up. If you don't, then don't.
Yeah.
And then like a bunch of people just wouldn't show up. And I'm like, I think that was code for you better fucking be here.
Well, I fucking found that out the hard way. But like they got my money.
Yeah.
Well, my dad's money.
Ooh, hard flex.
There we go. That was like, that's a very white kid thing to do, is like my parents paid for college.
Maybe on your end.
Oh, yeah.
I've got $60,000 in student loan debt.
Oh, damn. What did you study?
Political science, and I minored. No, my problem was
That must boil your blood seeing Donald Trump securing the fucking White House again.
Donald Trump is Papa Bear.
He's back, baby.
He's back. 2024 is the greatest year of our lives.
How wild will the
Our Lord and Savior returns.
how wild will that election be if it's RFK versus Donald Trump?
That would be crazy.
That would be like such a wild. That would be like one of those like dystopia. Like you thaw someone out like who was in a coma for 30 years.
What has happened?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, to be honest, it's better than just that race would be better than the alternative. Like if Joe Biden can't run again.
They can't prop him up. He's done. He can't even.
I mean, it's sad.
It's like awkward. Like I mean, like unless like Kamala Harris wants to, you know.
Come on, now
Yeah,
you're just.
I know.
Come on.
It's never gonna happen. They're
isn't
never gonna.
Fantasyland.
They you know they were
gonna be a man, the greatest man.
They were gonna, you know, get her in like under that where it's like, well, technically the first African American woman president.
Yeah.
Just hoping Joe Biden dies in the middle of his term.
That's what. I mean, that's obviously
But
what the plan.
that was the plan. But like this creep just hung on to life. Thanks for nothing,
Just
Joey.
hanging on to life like he's hanging on to little kids' shoulders.
I gotta say, Hunter Biden definitely cooler than the Trump boys, though.
Fucking
that guy rocks.
Hunter Biden would rock the Trump boys.
Yeah,
are you
dude.
kidding me? Steel cage match?
Come on,
fucking.
dude.
His dad would be like throwing a chair in there.
Hunter Biden hitting the crack pipe like it's fucking Popeye spinach.
Hey, as a recovering addict, we have nothing. Hunter, if you want to come on the podcast, we'll hear your story out. I'm sure you got plenty of stories. Hookers in Vegas, baby. Let's go.
Just give us the laptop, Hunter. Come on, dude. Don't make this harder than it is. You're gonna
Don't
get
make
your
it
daddy-
harder than it actually is. And then he smokes crack and he looks down at his dick. He's like, it's so hard. All right.
We're just having a little fun.
It's jokes, baby. It's jokes. It's in the comedy section.
No one's getting hurt.
Well,
Yeah.
some people are.
Yeah.
Those hookers that are buried in Vegas somewhere by Hunter Biden.
Mamma mia.
I'm breaking news. Extra, extra. Read all
Extra,
about it.
baby.
Anyway, back to you.
Yeah, me.
So freshman year, you decide you're going to get out of theater.
Mm-hmm.
You do your finals, but I want to know, because you said your friends were there and it was kind of like, hey, smell this. Like, do you want to drink? Blah, blah, blah. What kind of triggered in your brain to where you're like, actually, yeah, I'm going to fucking do this?
I was just like, it just felt like something liberating. I just saw how much fun everyone else was having.
Okay.
And I was like, why can't I have that kind of fun?
It's just crazy to me. I'm crazy is probably the wrong word, but it's crazy to me that it took like an entire year.
Yeah.
Because like obviously everyone, I've heard so many stories about people the day they get to college, like they're cracking open beers or they're doing shots, and you saw all that, and you're just like, nope, not for me.
I gotta make sure I get. You know what? I think it was also like I saw people that were like blackout drunk every night of the week that still like managed to go to school. And it kind of like ruined people like who would get high
this
right
facade
before class.
of like it's gonna ruin your life.
Yeah,
if you try.
it started like eroding away.
Okay, that
It's
makes
like,
sense.
You know, people can balance it. You can get high in the middle of the day and still go to school. And like for some people, like they were like used to it, and it was just another day. You know,
You're looking at it.
there we are, baby. It happens, man. It
It just becomes a part of life.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Then I was joking earlier about that summer that I went from a heavy drinker to an alcoholic, but it's true because. And I was talking to someone about this the other day because they're thinking about quitting drinking. And I said, yeah, you should totally try it, but just realize, because they had tried this in the past and they're like, oh, I'll quit drinking for like 10 days. And then they make it like 7. Or they're like, oh, I'll quit drinking for the month. And then like 2 weeks in, something happens. And they're like, oh, I'll just drink. And I was like, well, that's the thing you have to be careful about, because you're never going to know it happens until it happens. And then you're looking back like, oh, fuck. Like that was the moment.
Yeah.
So when you're in college, and you're seeing all these people who are still high functioning, like whether they're on drugs or alcohol or whatever, they're still doing it. And you're like, well, yeah, if these fucking assholes can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And then you just decide, let it rip, baby.
Let's do it, baby.
So did you get hammered that first time on that captain?
I got the Asian glow, my friend. I got the Asian glow big time.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, that's where your face gets red and flush. It's a minor allergic reaction to alcohol. That,
Really?
A lot of Asian people get. So it's called the Asian glow.
I get it.
Yeah.
thought
I
that was
got that from
derogatory.
my mom's side.
So you are allergic.
I'm minorly. Yeah, I get like red and splotchy all over my body.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Do you still? But you fucking didn't let that stop you.
I never let that stop me. I was just like, okay, I guess this is just a part of being drunk all the time. And they were like, that's wild. Like I would get like beet red, like a tomato red,
Yeah.
like sunburnt. But only when I'm drunk. And then like once the alcohol passed through my body, I looked like normal again.
That's how it is when I take blue chews.
Nice.
When I do the blue chews, I like light up like a fucking
niacin
4th of
flush.
July.
Hell yeah. Real fireworks coming out of your wiener.
Yeah.
Nice.
Come.
Hell yeah, dude. Fuck yeah.
Clip it. So then do you start, how often are you partying then at that point?
I'm partying like probably like we had it in control, like mainly on the weekends, Fridays, every once in a while, like maybe like a Wednesday drink, depending on.
Yeah, I mean that's how I was when I first started drinking in college because I was playing football. So it's like, well, I can only drink on specific days because other days you have to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to workouts. It's like I'm not fucking doing that.
Yeah, you would like have it kind of balanced out a little bit, you know. And sophomore year, I was living off campus.
Okay.
And then I was like living with like some party boys.
Okay.
And San Francisco State didn't really have fraternities, so everyone would just kind of party in the apartments adjacent to the college.
Just whoever the party boys were.
So we would always have that, you know.
Did you become a party boy?
A little bit, yeah, dude. We'd fucking party it up, dude. We would get Taka vodka, like the shittiest fucking
the plastic bottle.
Oh yeah, dude. And like every once in a while, like we get like a Smirnoff Ice if it was like a Friday when we were like, let's treat ourselves and get a strawberry Smirnoff Ice, like fucking, and we just like kill a fucking bottle of it, you know, mix it with and then like we'd cook chicken breast on the stove, chicken breast and rice, and then drink like Taka vodka and shit. And then, like, have a pull-up bar, dude. It was like we were really.
Were you guys like
out.
really broing? Yeah.
We were broing out, dude. Like, but it was the early 2000s, man.
Fuck yeah.
We were living.
Fuck
That was like the college experience.
Yeah, I mean that's how it was with me too. I mean, I was a little bit. I'm like 3 years behind you, so it was a little bit later, but still, it's the same thing. Like I got to college in 07, and it was still kind of
fuck yeah.
Like everyone fucking came to the dorms with their fucking pull-up bar, and we all had like a fucking hot. I was lucky enough to live in the student apartment, so we had a full kitchen.
Oh,
and
nice.
It was just rice
that was the 4-person
chicken
dorms. Hell yeah.
Rice and chicken breasts and fucking pull-ups and shots of vodka, baby. Let's go.
That's how you do it. You fucking it's good because you kind of like need to learn like that level of discipline in more or less like, yeah, you could get expelled, but in the big picture, less consequences than now.
Yeah.
You know, it's better where you still have like your parents to kind of bail you out.
Well, not even your parents to fall back on, but you also have the university to where they'll be like, well, this is a teachable moment. Versus when you get older, fast forward, and then all of a sudden it's like cops, and they're just like, we don't fucking do teachable moments. Like you're getting arrested.
You're in trouble. Yeah. You're an adult, and now there's consequences to this shit. It's like,
and I've experienced all that because when I stopped playing football was when all that went off the rails. I started drinking rum instead of vodka. I started going to Taco Bell every night at like 1 a.m. because Taco Bell and Wendy's were the two that were open late.
Yeah.
Back then, for those of you listening who are younger, back then, not every place was open super late.
Right. That was a big deal when
McDonald's
Taco Bell was
and Burger
open
King
late.
would close at like 10 o'clock. But Wendy's started it, and then Taco Bell followed suit, and they'd stay open until 2 a.m. So I remember I'd get fucking, this is after football, I had nothing going on, and I'd get hammered, and then I'd do a bunch of coke, drive to Taco Bell, fucking order $20 worth of food, which back then was a plethora of food, and then I'd go home, eat it all, and then pass out. I gained 100 pounds in like 3 months after I quit playing football.
Good for you, dude.
But it was that experience. So when I was playing football and we'd get drunk and like get a little rowdy, the RAs would come in and be like, stop that.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Chill out. Yeah.
And then as you got a little older, like then it would be like campus police, and they're cops and FAU, they're Boca cops, but they'd be like, chill the fuck out. Like I got arrested a couple times by them, but they never took me into the actual station. They take me to the substation, write me a written arrest, and then send me home. And then as I got older and like dealing with like cops, like out street cops, like beat cops, like they don't fucking, I got the shit kicked out of me before. I've been fucking tased, like all sorts of shit where it's like, oh, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Gloves are off.
Gloves are off. So did you ever get into any kind of trouble when you guys were drinking?
Hell no, dude. I always got away with everything, dude. I never got fucking busted by the cops, dude. I never got like so wildly out of control.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. You never
like it was never like we got our. I've always liked to chill, and it's like if there's a party, it's like okay, I'll vibe.
Yeah,
but I'm like okay, I'm drunk, I can go home
I'll
now.
Vibe.
I was like, I remember being like, oh, I'm drunk, I can go home now. Like I was like, okay, cool, I did what I needed to do. I got drunk, and now like let's get the fuck out of here. And like sometimes a girl would talk to me. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go watch a movie. Do you want to watch a movie? And she's like, yeah, I'll watch a movie. I'm like,
yes,
oh, shit. Here we go. Okay, cool. Like it was.
Did you make a move?
Easy. Always, dude.
See, I'm bad at that.
Oh, you got to make especially like if you're drunk, like, hey, let's get another beer.
Yeah.
You know?
And
now, now sign this letter of consent because I knew already at the time.
2005.
I knew at the time. I was like, hey, just sign this. And I
just have a big stack you printed up at the library.
Unfortunately, I uploaded it onto my MySpace for prosperity, and then it was fucking purged. But it's all good. It's all good.
So
I have to subpoena Tom to fucking unarchive MySpace.
Tom, open it up, man.
Those are my letters of consent, dude. I had a MySpace comedy page.
Did you really?
Isn't that fucking wild?
So you started comedy then, man.
I was back. I was ready to go, dude.
That's how Dane made it.
There used to be this website called Rooftop Comedy. And one of the clubs I would perform at as a youngster, like they would record those sets, and unfortunately, like the site's gone. Because I'd love to find like some of those old like college sets. Like the oldest set I have is from 2009.
Fuck.
Like
that's when I started.
Yeah, dude. So there we go. As far as history knows, we started at the exact same time.
As far as the internet knows,
that's right, baby.
So let's bring it back. So then you said you're partying in college and doing fun stuff like that, and then when you graduate, do you decide you're going to go full bore into comedy, or did you try to do something with English Lit, or like what happened?
Dude, I just got a job at a coffee shop.
Did you?
It's so depressing.
You stayed in San Francisco?
I stayed in San Francisco. I knew I wanted to stay in San Francisco. I was hoping
small town.
It is. It actually kind of is compared to New York.
Yeah. I mean, everything is compared to New York.
I was trying to balance comedy and working at a coffee shop.
But you decided not to you decided to pursue comedy.
I did.
Yeah.
And I was around like 23, 24 where I was like, I love doing comedy. I don't like working in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
I'm done with this. I'm focusing on prioritizing doing stand-up comedy. And sometimes I'd have to open up shop at the coffee shop, so I'd have to get up at 3 a.m. to catch the bus and open up the doors, be open and ready to go at 4 a.m.
Jesus.
It was awful. But I get off at noon. So what I would do is I'd get off work, I go home, I'd sleep, I get up at 5, I go to an open mic, I do 1 or 2 open mics, and then I go back home around 9 or 10.
Yeah.
I'd sleep and I get up at 3 o'clock and do it all over again.
Damn, so you're doing that 4 or 5 days a week?
I was doing that 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And then a Friday I would sleep to kind of reset myself.
And just start all over again.
Yeah. And some nights I was lucky and I would get a 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. shift.
Yeah.
And then I could just,
then you could
have a regular day, but those were few and far between. Eventually I got a job as an assistant manager at a coffee shop specifically because it was mainly 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah.
spots. I'm like, oh, great. Now I can go do comedy at night.
So is that what you were doing? How long did you do that for?
I did that for a good 3 years.
And then did you move to New York after that?
No. And then I quit that job.
Yeah.
And then I was unemployed. So I was working with a temp agency and I got a job at this virtual address company where people could open up an address online to receive mail. At a San Francisco address.
Okay.
And then we digitize it for them. So we're basically a virtual mailbox in that sense.
Yeah.
So I was working there for a while. I found a job and they hired me there. And that was perfect because it was a 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. It gave me benefits. Most important, let me do stand-up comedy every night.
So were you in? Because you said it was a temp job, so were you
they hired me on full time.
Oh, okay,
eventually.
so you were ready to rock.
I was set, and then I got passed at the San Francisco Punchline.
Okay.
In San Francisco.
What year was this?
This was in 2014.
Okay.
I got passed. I got passed in 2013, and then I got hired full time at the job in 2014.
Yeah.
And when you're passed in the Punchline in San Francisco. Because it's owned by Live Nation, you can work at all of the Live Nation clubs. Like you're in that.
That's a lot of
rotation.
clubs.
Yeah. So it's like a really good, and like, you know, they only pass you if you have like, you know, if you've shown like, you know, you've successfully done well on multiple shows and you've gone there consistently and have like a loyalty to the club.
So did
like,
you start touring? Like what happened?
No, I was just like working at the club there.
Okay.
And, you know, I just working at my day job, and just saving up money. And eventually my job said, hey, we've had an opening in our Manhattan office. And if you would like a position, we'd like to move you from San Francisco to New York to work in the office there.
Fuck yeah.
So I was like, okay, fuck yeah. You know, I've been saving this money. Now I can just like, you know, spend it on whatever.
Yeah.
Because the job was going to, you know, pay for my move. So I packed up all my stuff and I shipped it out to New York. I was able to find a place almost immediately.
When was this?
This was in 2018.
Okay, so you passed at Punchline for 5 years before.
Yeah, I've been working at the Punchline for like 5. I've been working at like these clubs and just kind of like building up my act. And I was like regular headlining in San Francisco, and you can only go so far.
Oh yeah.
In San Francisco before it's like
anybody who comes from a smaller market knows that. It's
like
the same thing in Florida.
Yeah, you got to move to either LA or New York.
Yeah,
like that's like a given.
It's weird now with the internet and social media the way it is, because I know people who got like a big, like hundreds of thousands of followers in the smaller areas that we were from, and then they moved to New York. But it tickles me pink when I see them, because like they don't know a lot, like they don't know a ton of people. And like we were talking about earlier before the mics went on, like doing the podcast and stuff, I've gotten to know a ton of comics and actors and musicians. So it's so funny when I see them, because their following is literally 100 times what mine is. But I'm way more comfortable in certain environments than they are, because I know the comics.
Yeah, and it's important to make like that kind of, and you got to go where the action is, man.
Fuck yeah, man.
Like, come on, this is New York City.
I tell people all the time when they're like, yeah, but your rent is this and that, and like obviously with the financial shit going on.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but it's like a comedy festival every night.
Yeah,
like
small
we were
price to
literally
pay.
sitting outside of the studio, and a huge comic that we both know, who's very friendly with us, was just walking out of the studio.
A dear friend.
Yeah. And we were just like, hey, what's up, man? And it's like, you can't get that in fucking Jacksonville. I love Jacksonville.
We won't say the
the
name, but we were like very grateful. Mr. Seinfeld, it's so good to see you.
Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry.
Hey, come on, guys.
What's the deal with this elevator? Why is it taking so long? I don't want to talk to you too.
Why is it called a podcast? You're not in a pod.
And it's not a cast.
It's not going to cast. I'm in a cast. Hello.
What are we fishing? That's good.
Good old Jer.
Good old Jer.
Good old Jer. Another New York City peer.
Yeah.
You know? You never know, dude.
I have a bit where I talk about my one-man show, and then I talk about how John Mulaney came out with this, and I was like, we're basically the same guy. Two white guys with addiction issues doing comedy in New York. We're the same
Getting
person.
Asian women pregnant. Huh?
We're the same. Well.
One and the same, baby. One and the same. That's what we were all just, everyone was mad because it was like, all right, cool. You owned up to your addiction and getting better. Talk about banging the hottie, doggy.
Well, also...
Come on, baby. Talk about cheating on your wife with the beauty.
The thing. That's the thing. It's so weird. That's why I like doing this podcast too, is because it's a time capsule. Because like obviously people come on and they're in relationships or they're in certain situations, and then they'll talk about it. And then like 6 months later, I'll find out that they broke up with that person. And then I go back and listen to the episode. I'm like, oh man, they talked about that person a lot. And now they're not even together.
Yeah, dude.
I went down this rabbit hole of John Mulaney on Late Night, talking about like his magnificent wife who's always stood by him and blah, blah, blah. And then he fucking cheated on her and got someone else's pregnant.
Guy builds up his fucking wife just to cheat. Yeah, I want to go on record. I hate my girlfriend, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Huh? Man, I'm saving my marriage right now. That goofball.
Oh, what a rascal.
Yeah.
That was a rascal.
Come on.
So you're passing the Punchline, then your company decides to move you to New York.
Yeah.
And then, so what happens with the Punchline? Are you just like, I'm out?
No, I can still go there. I email them my dates and stuff. It's just it's more difficult to schedule that time because I have to like coordinate the flight. It used to just be, I used to be like a 15-minute bus ride away from
it's
this
like,
club.
hey, Joe, can you come in? Yeah.
And now I have to, commute literally like the
6-hour
furthest
flight,
apart. Yeah. So, I would have, if I know I could reach out to people and have stuff lined up. Mm-hmm. I was actually scheduled to go back in March of 2020, and then COVID. So
what you people call COVID.
Yeah.
I'm from Florida, so
they call it just cold season.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's just a cold. It's the flu. Drink some bleach, you'll be fine.
We probably could have just ridden it out.
I mean, that's what we did.
We probably should have just listened to Florida.
I mean, you guys are stacked on top of it. Let's not get in. We're gonna be tagged.
We're fine.
We're gonna be tagged for misinformation.
Fucking flagged already.
Yeah.
Fauci still has his grip on YouTube.
Demonetize it. So when you get to New York, because you've now been in New York for 5 years.
Yeah.
What did you have to start going to like open mics all over again? Like what happened?
I wanted to go to the open
Yeah.
mics. I wanted to kind of get a vibe. You know, the thing I saw was a lot of working comics still go to mics too.
All the time.
You know, so it's not like, oh, you're going to an open mic, you must not be a good comic. It's like, oh, you're going to an open mic, you must be working on stuff.
Yeah, fucking absolutely, man.
I feel like there's like a stigma with like smaller towns where once you start doing showcases, stop
You
going
can't
to
do
the
open
open
mics,
mics.
yeah. I don't believe in that.
That's not the case at New York at all.
Well, I mean, that's the way it is in Jacksonville. Fucking some of the biggest heavy hitting comics in the Southeast are from Jacksonville, and they go to fucking in Daytona and Orlando and like that area. They fucking do mics like 5 times a week, because especially down in that. And I've talked about it before, so I'm sure the listeners are sick of hearing about it. But in smaller towns, the mics are like shows because there's not an oversaturation in the market. There's like one comedy club in Jacksonville, so like if it's a Tuesday night and you want to see comedy, you go to the open mic because that's where the comedy is.
Yeah.
So people see comics, and it's a good way to work out material. Here, it's a little more difficult just because it's all comics. So it's like, shit.
Yeah.
Fuck me. No one's going to pay attention. Everyone's on their phone.
Yeah, and you end up kind of maybe changing because make an audience laugh isn't necessarily what make a comic laugh, and vice versa.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. I forget who said it, but I had a guest on one time that said, if you can make a room full of comics like die laughing, you need therapy, not an open mic. Like something's very wrong.
That's true. You see like some of those comics, like they take like their video of them at an open mic and they chop it up and post it on the internet. It's like, dude, you're not fucking, come on, dude.
I say that sometimes as a joke. Like if there's only like 3 comics at an open mic, I'll be like, guys, everybody crowd around the very front. We'll put the camera right behind all of our heads so it looks like it's packed, and then just die at every punchline. We'll clip the shit out of this.
I tell them we'll get it in post. We'll get it in post.
We'll get it in post, baby.
Don't even worry about it.
Fix it in post.
Just run it through. We got that laugh track. Use it. Canned laughter track 2. Now. Roll it. Hit it.
Hit it. I wanted to ask you.
Action. Yes.
Because you had sent me a couple of stories, and I'm assuming a lot of these happened. I want to definitely. I think we're going to end on the DA story.
Okay.
But I want to talk about the set on acid. Was that in New York?
That was San Francisco.
Okay. How long were you into comedy?
I had been doing comedy for about 6 years at that point, so I had known it. So what we did, me and a friend of mine, Christian Reyes.
Shout out
Christian Reyes. Hopefully he doesn't get in trouble for this, but I don't think he will. We just took some acid and just had like a day in San Francisco. And what's cool about San Francisco is it's only 7 miles by 7 miles. It really is a small little city compared to, that's like literally the size of Manhattan.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It's like, so you could walk.
I mean, let's be honest. That's New York.
That's New York. Yeah, it really is. Brooklyn is like where you think New York adjacent.
Off.
Yeah.
Anybody who goes, oh, I'm from New York, and I go, where? And they go, oh, Astoria. Shout out to Tracy, my girlfriend, because she's listening. I go, oh, well, so when you write like a letter, you put New York, and they go, oh no, I put Astoria, New York, and I go, not New York,
not New York.
Suck it.
They know what they mean. But they're ashamed.
Know what we mean. Yeah. I don't leave the island for anything, and that's Manhattan. No, I'm just
only Brooklynites are proud of being like, oh, where are you from? I'm from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, yeah.
Brooklyn
Sometimes the Bronx too. If you get the
the upper Bronx,
BX.
Especially if you're born there.
Oh fuck, dude.
Nobody who moved into the Bronx is like proud to. I moved to the Bronx. Like you fucked up.
They go. I moved to the Bronx.
You fell on some hard times. Fucking you lost your job. Let's start up, huh? Now you're in the Bronx.
Start a podcast in the Bronx.
Yeah, I'm in the Bronx. Help!
Help! So you're in San Francisco. You make a day out of it.
We make a day. We just took some acid, and we started in Golden Gate Park.
Okay.
Which was a beautiful little area, and we were just walking. The same person who designed Central Park designed Golden Gate Park.
I did not know that.
God, no.
Nailed it.
Some architect, but yeah, they designed. So it was always a fun vibe. But we ended up acid's like one of those, all day kind of trips.
Yeah.
So
it's like 8 hours.
Yeah, man. So we were still walking around. We were kind of winding down our day. And we were walking through this part in like Folsom Street in San Francisco, which is like kind of like a gayer artist community area of San Francisco.
Yeah, you said San Francisco.
Yeah. And then we found like this yoga meditation studio that was also having an open mic.
Get the fuck out of here.
I swear to God. So like we were in this area and we were like, oh, look at this. This is so cool. And we knew like a couple of the people and they were like, whoa, what's going on, Joe? I'm like, oh, Christian and I, we took some acid. We're just kind of tripping right now. What's going on? Like, oh, it's like a comedy show at this yoga studio. So like, you know, it's like big open floors. There were yoga mats all over. So everyone was kind of like stretched out, having a good time. And I was like, this is fucking awesome, man. Like I was like, this is fucking awesome, man. Like I was just, my brain was being rewired and there was a lot of stimulation. I didn't even know if it was real or not, you know, because
it sounds fake.
It sounds fake. It sounds like almost like busted. We're actually fucking police and you're in trouble for having fun and doing a victimless drug, you know? And I was like, oh shit. So they were like, do you want to do a set? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Because you're embedded, entrenched in the community. They know. They know fucking
yeah,
Joe.
But it was like easy going. Dude, I had so much fun. I was talking and I was like, I know what I want to talk about and it's going through my brain, but it's hard for me to articulate it and say it to you all right here in this venue. And I was saying like, I bet this is how people with dementia feel in like their more lucid moments of like, thoughts are going through my head, but I can't articulate exactly what I want to say. And I remember saying, I know this kind of feels like, you know, kind of rambling right now, but I'm saving this set and I'm going to listen to it when I'm 86 and have dementia and I'll know exactly what I'm talking about as a 32-year-old on acid.
Just crushing.
I remember just thinking about that, having a good time. And then I was saying like, I need to lead everyone in a meditation right now. And everyone close your eyes. And I went, you know, like Lion King. And then I was saying, like, how cool is it that, you know, in like 1994, there was some white executive trying to sell the Lion King to producers. And like, he's just like, I imagine some white guy in a business who's going, just some fucking white guy doing like
no, it's because they're in Africa, guys. Get it?
Just like a traditional like African dance, like really trying to upsell it.
Just really hitting it hard.
And like they loved it. It was a lot of fun, man.
Do you still do that joke?
No.
That's a good bit.
No, I might bring it back for you.
Yeah, the act out.
This is a classic.
Again, just like, I mean, you don't have to do the acid part, but you could just be like, listen, did you guys ever think about the Lion King?
Yeah.
That's funny.
It was a lot of fun, man.
Where did the DA story happen?
So
San Francisco?
Yeah, the DA story was also in. So I was, this was in the Tenderloin.
Okay.
Very sketchy part of town. This is in like 2009.
So this is before?
No, actually, it was even younger than I was still in college at the time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was like a young man. So
this is like right into comedy.
Yeah, so I was like fresh doing comedy. So this was probably like 2005 or 6.
Okay.
So I was doing comedy at, it was called Our Little Theater in San Francisco. Right. I'll name it. And the owner, Siama of
Our Little Theater.
Sia space Ama, who basically ran like a beauty salon and also a comedy venue at night.
Yeah, like most bookers.
Yeah. She had, there was like alcohol there and it was like, oh, you buy a ticket and we can give you alcohol.
Yeah, you can't sell it, but they can give it to you.
They can give it to you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, like,
and are you drinking at the time?
No, I wasn't drinking, but I was like hosting a comedy show.
Okay.
And it was a small thing, like literally it was called Our Little Theater. The theater is about the size of this studio.
Get the fuck out of here.
Very small. It could seat at most like 8 people wildly uncomfortably. Like sometimes the comics would have to wait out in the street outside of the venue.
What do you mean? Sometimes I would always make the comics wait out in the street if it could only fit 8 people.
Yeah. And but it was in like the Tenderloin, which is like a very sketchy, very methy part of San Francisco.
So not the fun-loving, free will kind of thing that you were just at with the yoga.
Right. So I was like doing my set. I was hosting, and I noticed there was a small crowd, like 4 people. I mentioned like, you know, people that bought a ticket, you know, you can have alcohol that's here in the beer. And there were like these 2 guys to the right that just like weren't laughing at all. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I brought up the first
out of the 4 people, there's 2 guys. So half the room is not
half of the room is like dead. You know, so I'm like, ugh, 50%. It's going to be one of those nights. So,
out of the 4 of you, 2 of you are not having a good time.
So the The owner wasn't there at the time. Siama wasn't there. I was hosting it alone. So I go out into the road to.
So you introduce the first comic and then go outside.
And go outside to bring up the next comic. Those two guys come out and follow me, and they were like, "Are you in charge of this place? Are you the owner?" And I was like, "No, I'm just the host." And he flips open his wallet and shows a badge, like, "We're the DA, and this place doesn't have a license to distribute alcohol. We're gonna let you finish the show, but you can't have any alcohol on the premise." And I was like, "Oh, how am I gonna fucking finish hosting the show?"
God,
with this. And I was like a kid, I had no idea.
When you say DA, you mean the district attorney or DEA, like the cops?
DEA, like the DEA or whatever, like the fucking
drug enforcement.
Yeah,
agency.
drug. Yeah. That was so. Like they gave me a ticket.
God damn, really?
They gave me a fucking ticket.
You got busted by the DEA at a comedy show.
At a DEA, and it was like we feel like one of the other comedy venues probably called the cops on them.
Yeah, probably.
Because there's always feuds going on between these shitty little comedy clubs. But I don't understand that.
It's not like they're fucking taking a ton of business. It can only fit 10 people.
I know, that's the thing. It was just like petty shit between like petty shitty owners, neither of whom do. I feel like she might have died during COVID. Hopefully, So I was like calling her up and I was saying like, hey, like something's going on.
This fine.
They're giving me a ticket. And then she was like saying it was my responsibility to pay the ticket. So I had to call my parents.
Wait, well, how did she get off saying it was your responsibility?
Because like she was like, what do you do? Like, you were in charge of the venue. I'm just there. She's like, I was the owner, but you're supposed
it's
to.
It's your venue.
I know. So I was saying like, I'm not paying this. So luckily, like my mom was a paralegal.
Yeah.
So she knew a ton of lawyers.
So they just got it.
They got it taken care of. Like it was no problem. Like they were like the lawyer called the judge
and was like, you can't give this guy a ticket. He was hosting a show.
Right. And they were like, okay, this is expunged from the record.
Damn.
Like, no problem. And like they were like, how much alcohol was there? And like it was just like Budweisers. And like there was
fatties?
Yeah. And like was anyone under the age of 18? No one, just like a ton of stuff. So that was, but it was just like one of those things where it's like, just shitty owners. That, like pass it on to and like it's everywhere, but it made me like aware, so I didn't really do that venue anymore after that.
Were you more aware when you did other venues? Because we do a lot of shows in like bars and stuff, especially in New York. Are you like more cognizant of that? It
lowered my expectations, but I really did feel like that was like an outlier of shitty venues.
That's true.
And I haven't really encountered, and like, that's not going to happen like the Stand.
No, but that's what I mean is we do a lot of shows at bars and like parks and stuff like that. So it's like, because I know. To your point, and some of the smaller shows I've done, like in Florida and the Southeast, it's weird because you'll walk in, like we do an awesome show at this place called Paper Route. Shout out to Paper Route in St. Augustine. It's fucking a sick show, but it's a clothing store. And then they have a giant like room in the back that we do comedy at. It's one of my favorite venues in Florida, but it's just one of those weird things where it's like, can we like have people back here? Like, do they like? I don't know the booze situation. I don't know any of that because I'm just performing and I'm sober, so I don't really care. But at the same time, it's like I don't know what's really going on here.
Yeah.
Because it's like one of those things where it's like, well, I know it's a clothing store in the front, but I don't know what the fuck's going on in the back.
Yeah.
And we run into a lot of those kind of shows, especially up here, where it's like I don't fuck. But like you said, it's not. That's got to be an outlier. Because I've never ran into someone where they're like, the owner's like, yeah, it's fucking all you, and like walks away.
Yeah, it was definitely like a very San Francisco experience, but like that venue like was persistent. Like they still stayed open for a while.
That's crazy,
man. It was but it was like such a small venue. Like people always felt ripped off coming in.
Yeah,
but it forced me to do crowd work. It forced me to improve as a comic in that sense.
Yeah.
Like being in such a small room like that. One time we had like the audience was just one guy and it was a dude celebrating his birthday.
By himself.
Yeah, by himself. And he was like, I just thought I'd come to a comedy show. Aww. And I'm like, oh, you fucked up. But we went out drinking with him afterwards.
Did you cry? Was it like fun?
Yeah, it was it was fun. He had a good time. He was easygoing. We drank some beers that he brought.
Hell yeah.
I think we switched over to BYOB. That's
the move.
Yeah, but then at one point he went to the bathroom and it was like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to pause the show. While it's like
in the middle of a setup, and he's like, I have to go to the bathroom. It's like
it was like between like the punchlines.
Yeah, we'll get back to it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, we can. We'll pick up right where you left off.
Dude, this was so much fun.
This was a fucking blast, dude.
Thanks for coming on. Plug everything one more time. The podcast, social media, all of it.
As always, you can find me on social media at Joe W. Gorman. That's across all platforms except LinkedIn. Don't find me on LinkedIn. And then my podcast, Locker Room Talk, with Matt Marin and Bobby Sheehan. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/justsomелockerroomtalk. It would mean the world to me. I'd love to quit my job.
Hell yeah. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. At Brennan T. Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. I got dates coming up, some in New York, and then I'll be in Philly in October. So check out the website, and we will talk to you all next week.